Welcome to our simple guide to completing Form ID3. You should use Form ID3 to verify your identity with HM Land Registry when you are not represented by a solicitor or conveyancer and you lodge certain applications with us. This is necessary to reduce the risk of property fraud. Before we start, a note about fraud. If you are confirming identity or supplying evidence of identity and you dishonestly provide information or make a statement you know is or might be untrue or misleading, you may commit the offence of fraud under Section 1 of the Fraud Act 2006. You can have your identity verified by a solicitor, conveyancer, a chartered legal executive, or someone who works in certain professions. Use your Form ID3 if you are a private individual and you're asking someone to verify your identity who works in one of the authorised professions, for example, a medical doctor or dentist. A full list can be found in Section 2.1 of the form and Practice Guide 67. There are a few exceptions for whom confirmation of identity is not required, and these are set out in full in Practice Guide 67. This form can only be used if both you and the person verifying your identity hold a full UK, Channel Islands or Isle of Man passport, have known each other for at least 1 year, are not related to each other, and are not involved in the same transaction. For example, a person selling a property cannot verify the identity of a person buying the property. Otherwise, you can have your identity verified by a solicitor, conveyancer, or chartered legal executive. In this case, you would complete Form ID1 instead. Download the form free of charge from our website at gov.uk. Now let's look at completing Form ID3, starting with Part 1. You must complete every panel in Part 1. Use black ink and block capitals to ensure your form scans properly and is legible. Panels 1.1 to 1.3. Complete your personal details as shown in our example. Panel 1.4. You must state your correct name. If you have changed your name by deed poll, statutory declaration, or statement of truth, put a cross in the first box of panel 1.4 and enter the date of the change. If not, put a cross in the second box of panel 1.4. Panels 1.5 to 1.8. Enter your details as shown in our example. Panel 1.9. You must provide a phone number. We will have to write to you if this panel is blank, which could delay your application. Complete panel 1.10 with details of the application to be submitted to HM Land Registry. In our example, the application is to register a transfer of ownership, and this has been entered in panel 1.10. If you know it, insert the title number of the property in panel 1.11. When we register property, we give it a unique Land Registry reference number. You'll find this at the top of the first page of the title register and also on the title plan. Together, we call these the title deeds. If you don't have the title deeds, the quickest and cheapest way to find your title number is to view or download a copy of the register using our Search for Land and Property Information service, available on gov.uk. The property summary is free, and a small fee is payable for each copy of the register and title plan. You will need an email address and a debit or credit card to use this service. In panel 1.12, write out the full address of the property, including the postcode. If it is a piece of land, give a brief description. For example, land adjoining to High Street, Peterborough. Before you go any further, check all panels are complete, all information you have given is accurate, and the date of your signature. We cannot accept your form if it is signed and dated more than 3 months before you lodge your application. Sign and date the bottom of the form to certify that the information you have supplied is accurate. You will now need to have your identity verified. Section 2.1 of the form tells you who is authorised to verify your identity. When you meet, you will need your completed Form ID3 and UK, Channel Islands or Isle of Man passport. The verifier will then complete, sign and date Part 2, Panels 2.1 to 2.5. They may charge you a fee for this. Finally, check that both Parts 1 and 2 of the form are completed and that they are dated and signed no more than 3 months before the application is submitted to HM Land Registry. We cannot accept your form if you and your verifier signed and dated it more than 3 months before we receive it, or if Part 1 of the form is dated later than Part 2. Remember, you need to fill in Part 1 and take it to your verifier, who will check it and complete Part 2. If you're lodging an application with us yourself, send your application, your completed Form ID3 and copies of the personal details pages of your own and your verifier's passport to HM Land Registry Citizen Centre at our standard address for applications. Simply type HMLR address into your browser and look for the Citizen Centre address. Before we go, a few helpful tips. Do make sure documents are clear and legible. Do provide a translation of any foreign documents. And if you're not sure about anything, you should consider seeking legal advice. We hope you have found this information helpful. Further guidance on completing Form ID3 and other identity forms can be found on our website. For more videos on a variety of land registration topics, subscribe to our YouTube playlist, Public Guidance. Our public guidance pages on gov.uk are specifically aimed at people with no legal training, or you'll also find information and guidance on a variety of topics on our customer training hub on gov.uk.